Hi, and welcome to this video on forgiveness hypnotherapy. Some of you may know that I was a therapist. I was a hypnotherapist for many years before being called into kind of a deeper level of trust in what we could call divine providence, or um, basically letting go of the attempts to make money and just trusting that anything that I truly needed would be given, and that if I was willing to give of my heart, just to share the love that was coming through me, and at that time it was coming through strongly with music and still does, that I wouldn't have to be concerned about the practicalities of life. That if those concerns came up, I could just simply join with spirit and be reminded that there is a bigger plan that I'm not aware of, and that all the details are taken care of, they are handled, and that my only job is to just be like a child, like Jesus said in the Bible, be as little children, and and allow myself to be completely dependent on God for everything. So I've been living that way ever since, and I haven't really revisited hypnotherapy very often since I had that career for many years. It was incredibly helpful. It was a stepping stone for me, going from being an engineer and being intellectual to beginning to open my mind up more to my own inner consciousness, and helping other people open their mind up as well. And it took the form of behavior modification initially. I was hypnotizing people to quit smoking and lose weight, but I also was beginning to just get in touch with my own feelings on a deeper level, and reading spirituality, learning more about how the mind actually works. And yeah, this led me to A Course in Miracles and the path that I'm on now. But it was just recently that someone actually asked me about hypnotherapy, and if I had thought about doing any kind of hypnotherapy, based on A Course in Miracles, which I actually, right before I left the hypnotherapy career, I did go through a phase where I was into A Course in Miracles, and I really wanted to share hypnotherapy from that perspective. And so I did that for a period. I created a website called Forgiveness Hypnotherapy, and I began offering sessions with people in groups and one-on-one to help people go deeper into their practice of the Course through hypnotherapy, which I think is just a really, really helpful practical tool for it's a context really for helping the mind relax and just develop a deeper inner listening. Because when you're being hypnotized, and I'm speaking, when I say hypnotized in this context, I mean in a helpful way for the undoing of your ego. I'm also going to speak about how we've been hypnotized by the ego, and so we actually need to be unhypnotized from that. But when we're being hypnotized in a clinical sense or in a therapeutic sense for undoing, past guilt or pain, then what it can do is it can actually give us a means of releasing things that we didn't even know were there. It can be very, very helpful. And so I thought I would just share a bit about this context for hypnotherapy, which can be pretty new for a lot of people. I think some people have gone to a hypnotherapist for things like weight loss and smoking, but to actually use it purely to go inward and to practice forgiveness is something that may be somewhat new. And many people haven't ever experienced clinical hypnotherapy before. So this is just another tool that can be used for deepening your practice with A Course in Miracles. So the first thing I thought I'd share about is a little bit about what hypnosis actually is, and speak about it from a metaphysical point of view, because A Course in Miracles is basically teaching us that we're already hypnotized that just by believing ourselves to be a person in this world and to be accepting the images that we see as reality, as opposed to heaven being our reality, is a state of hypnosis. I don't think Jesus uses the term hypnosis in the Course, but Mary Baker Eddy actually did. She was actually one who spoke a lot about the hypnosis of the mortal mind. About the mortal mind was what she was referring to as a synonym for the ego in Course in Miracle terms, and that the mortal mind is the part of our mind that mortal is death. It's like the part of our mind that believes in death, the part of our mind that believes in form, that believes in that which can be born and die, and the Holy Spirit is the part of our mind, or we could say our true mind, that reminds us that what we are is life without an opposite, that we were never born and we can never die, because we are pure spirit, and there is no opposite to pure spirit, which is everywhere. So the mind that believes in death is basically hypnotized into a false belief system, a belief system of duality, a belief system of, like I said, birth and death, of good and evil, of right and wrong, of all kinds of opposites. There's a whole plethora of opposites that have been invented from this belief that there could be an opposite to heaven, that there could actually be an experience that we could call hell. And the ego has tried to project hell out as like this future state that we might end up in, or even if we don't really believe in the biblical version of hell, even the idea that life on earth, that we may end up in a hellish experience in the future. Ultimately, hell is really just a present state of denial. It's a state when we're not in touch with spirit in our soul, in our heart. And so I would say that every moment that we're not in touch with the Holy Spirit, we're basically in some version of hell. And this is also a state of hypnosis. But this is where it's not as hopeless as it seems, because we do have the memory, that we have the memory of God in our mind, and this memory is calling us. It's very, very strong. Actually, we don't realize how much we love God. There's a part in the Course where Jesus says that if you realized if you could just for a moment get in touch with the profound love that you have for God and that He has for you, you would give this world up in an instant. You would no longer feel any interest in continuing this game of pretending to be a human being, moving through time and space, thinking that you have real issues that you have to deal with. You would give it up in an instant, and there would just be an experience of pure happiness. And that's what we want, but there's such a fear. There's such a fear of giving up what's become familiar. This world has become so familiar to us, and the ego has basically taught us over and over and over, reinforced it, which is a hypnotherapy. It's a hypnosis technique. It's the ego's use of hypnosis was to reinforce over and over these hypnotic suggestions that this is your home now. This world is your home, and you have to just accept it. You have to accept it as your home, and that you're not going back to heaven. That you've sinned, you're guilty, and this is like your punishment. You have to just do the best you can here in time and space. And the best you can hope for is a little bit of pleasure here and there. You can just try to get as much pleasure as you can from this world, and try to be a good person as well, because when you may get accepted back into heaven, but the ego really tells us that it depends on what we do, and that we're ultimately. So the spirit can use what the ego made to undo the ego. And this, we could say that hypnotherapy is really a form of teaching or learning. It's a means of reinforcing lessons in the mind. When I would hypnotize people in my career for things like weight loss and stop smoking, I would basically guide them into a state of mind that was very relaxed and very receptive and open. And I first had to build trust. I would have to, share with them kind of my perspective and about hypnotherapy and what it is and what they can expect. And I would do a lot of preparation to just get them into a state where they could see that my intention was to help them, and that I didn't have any kind of hidden agendas or anything. Because there's a fear with hypnotherapy of being controlled, of losing. There's an association with hypnotherapy of losing control. And it's true that it does come with us. Basically, hypnotherapy means that you are allowing your mind to be given over to a higher power. But in truth, we're doing this all the time. And we're either giving our mind over to the ego, which isn't really a higher power, but we could say it's the power of our mind that is being used for separation. Or we're giving our mind over to the Holy Spirit and saying, I want you to be in charge. I want you to remind me that I'm not separate. And so when we go in to see a hypnotherapist, or if you're watching this video and you're open to the idea of being hypnotized seemingly by this character called Erik, it's not really a person hypnotizing another person, even though it seems that way. This is just a symbol. It's really a symbol that can be used as, I'm giving my mind over to the Holy Spirit. I'm giving my mind over for healing, and it all depends on the purpose for which I'm accepting. Which purpose am I accepting in my mind, and that will determine the kind of lessons that I call forth from the world, or from any seemingly individual therapist. So if my intention is for healing, then I will be drawn to those who will help me to heal. And the spirit can speak through anybody or anything. It can speak to us through signs on the billboards on the freeway, songs that we hear on the radio, characters in a movie that we watch, books that we read, things we find on the internet, and certainly through other people. The spirit can speak to us, is speaking to us through all of these symbols all the time, actually. And it's really just a matter of, are we listening? Am I willing to stop being hypnotized by the ego, which is what's happening all the time, that we're not listening to the spirit. It's always one or the other. So there really isn't an option for not being hypnotized. It's, am I being hypnotized by the ego, or we could say unhypnotized by the spirit? And that's really what I feel to offer, is that really I have no interest in hypnotizing you further. That's just sort of we can use that term to mean kind of guiding the mind into a state of relaxation. But what it's really for is to unhypnotize the mind from the belief system of the ego that's been so deeply ingrained. So what I feel to share now is just that I'll do just a very short demonstration of hypnotherapy for you, and it'll just be a very basic experience of what hypnotherapy could be like. It's nothing you need to really prepare for, other than if you want to make sure that you won't be disturbed for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Make sure that you turn off your phone or put it on silent for a few minutes if you want to really have this experience have it be maximized. Um, and just to really let go of expectations. I mean, hypnotherapy is not, this state of mind is very relaxing. It's very deep, but on a practical sense, you're not really out of control. If sometimes people are concerned that, well, what if what if there's suddenly an emergency? A fire starts in my apartment while I'm hypnotized. Will I wake up from the hypnosis and be able to get out of the apartment? Yes, they've actually done studies on this that show that that people are actually more responsive. They're more kind of actually seemingly more awake. That their mind is very, very sharp, because in the state of hypnotherapy, your mind is very quiet. You're very receptive. You're open. The spirit can come through, therefore, much more easily. So anything that's truly helpful that you need to do would just come through very, very quickly, without any kind of distortion, without the normal cloudiness that we live with when we're focused on ego agendas. So yeah, it's very, very therapeutic. And so I invite you to just join me in this experience. I'm going to go through a very basic hypnotherapy session and into that state, basically for stress relief and just general relaxation and forgiveness. And you can begin by putting yourself into a comfortable position if you're not already. Maybe putting in headphones that you can really concentrate, and just opening your mind up to the ideas that I'll be sharing, the suggestions to help you relax. So the first step is, generally, it's helping deep breaths, and close your eyes and allow yourself to completely relax, to begin to feel the muscles in your face relaxing, allowing any emotions that are present to simply arise and dissolve in whatever time it takes them to dissolve. There's no hurry. In fact, the whole purpose is to deeply allow the emotions to come up, and not to be surprised if strong emotions do come up. That's really the most therapeutic thing we can experience, is the emotions arising from our unconscious mind that have been repressed. Oftentimes they're repressed because we're afraid of being dysfunctional if they arise, that we won't be able to do our job. And we just have to trust that this is part of the Spirit's plan, and things may seem dysfunctional for us when we really let go, surrender, and open up to what's happening in our mind and in our heart and our soul. But that the Spirit does have all the practicalities in mind. We don't have to keep in our mind a list of our to-dos. We don't have to try to keep anything in our mind, but just trust that the Spirit has it all in his mind, or her mind if you prefer. And that relaxation is truly, truly the most practical thing. Yeah. So just letting the body relax and feeling that sense of peace surrounding you. The Spirit's peace enfolds you. And is inside you. It is in the stillness of your heart. There's nothing to be concerned about. And it can feel so good to drop everything and allow the Holy Spirit into the mind to give practical guidance, suggestions, ideas, and the love that we so need. Now, as you feel yourself relaxing and letting go completely, it may even feel as though the sensations of the body dissolve all the way into a state of pure beingness. And this is perfectly safe. It's perfectly safe to let go and trust. And this, in fact, is our natural state, a state of not feeling the body. And even if you do still feel the body, that's okay. But allowing it to dissolve, knowing that it's not important, that deep meditation, which gets us in touch with the stillness that we are as a spirit, helps us to realize that the body has nothing to do with who we are, and that this world has nothing to do with who we are, and that who we are is love. Love is all we are. And though there seemed to have been a separation from this love, there seemed to have been a forgetfulness, a denial of this love, it has never actually left us. The love that we are and the love from God, the love of our source, is invulnerable. And separation from this love never occurred nor could occur. We have dreamed of exile while perfectly safe at home. All is well, and always will be, in eternity, here and now. I'm going to count now from 1 up to 5 as a symbol of guiding the mind back into a state of alertness and peace, and feeling completely capable of moving forward, but not from a sense of fear, purely from the Spirit's love, moving involuntarily through you and guiding you to do everything that is truly practical and helpful to unwind the mind from all that it once believed. It's perfectly okay to relax in this state for as long as you like. And even after I count from 1 to 5, after this recording ends, you may be guided to just continue resting back into it, knowing that the Spirit is always with you and will always give you exactly what you need in terms of practical, specific guidance in every moment. And so this state of mind is available to you always upon your beckoning call. One, your life is being guided by Spirit, and there is no need nor cause for concern. All the details are handled. Two, it feels so joyful to be able to look out and remember that who and what your brothers and sisters are is Spirit, and only Spirit. True empathy is an ability to look beyond the body and see the Spirit, to see the Christ, and to let all the uncomfortable feelings that may arise in interpersonal relationships to simply be handed over for healing. 3, the mind is free. There is no cause for guilt, for the mind that is guilty is not the Son of God that I am. The ego mind does not exist except as an idea, a hallucination. 4, feels good to take some deep breaths again. To feel the joy in the heart. And open the eyes. 5, allowing the light of heaven to shine in, to shine through, and experience the love. So that is a very introductory experience of what hypnotherapy can be like. Very relaxing, and I always go into it myself. That's really the only way to guide someone else through it, is by letting the Spirit guide me into it, listening to what the Spirit is saying through me, and going into that experience myself. And so it feels like what I'll be sharing over the next several weeks are hypnotherapy sessions for any of you who've been listening and watching this, who feel a desire to move through specific issues in your life, using the metaphysics and the principles of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles hypnotherapy can can just be a way to start to move through those things very quickly by remembering that it's not necessary to fix them to fix the problems or the issues on a specific level, but that really it's just about lifting the mind above the battleground, like the Course says, and seeing the bigger picture, and seeing that the problems from this higher perspective are they're not so serious. Yes. And so that's what I feel inspired to share. And if you do feel inspired to have a session with me, either one-on-one or in a group, then you can email me. You can contact me through my website, which is right here on this little lower third section, acimmusic.org. And I'll be happy to join with you and extend this gift that I feel has just been freely given, and I feel to freely extend it. So thanks so much for joining me here, and I wish you a blessed day.